My dear learners, good morning everybody. I am Ujjwal Kumar Haldar, lecturer in English, Govt.suhrawardisollege, Pirojpur. Today I am going to take a class for the students of Honors, English Honors second year. Subject Romantic Literature, and today I shall carry on my discussion on John Keats, and later on we shall try to read out a poem by John Keats if we have enough time. Today, at the very beginning of my class, I like to carry on my discussion on John Keats. You know that John Keats was one of the greatest or one of the most renowned romantic poets in English literature. He was the youngest poet among the romantic poets. He was born, John Keats was born on October 31st, 1795 in England, and he was the he was the eldest of the 5 children of a stable keeper. That means he has 3 brothers and 1 sister, and among the 5 children of his parents, he was the eldest son of his parents, and he went to school at Enfield and found a friend in Charles Cowden Clark, son of the schoolmaster, and John Keats was remembered by his friends or his fellows for his generosity, kindness, pugnacity, and a passion for reading. But it is very pathetic that when John Keats was very young, he lost his parents. That means he lost his father in 1804 and his mother in 1810. Not only that, John Keats was very much shocked when he himself found or observed the death of his younger brother. It was very much pathetic, and he became disappointed after seeing the premature death of his brothers. However, John Keats became an apprentice to a surgeon at Edmonton in 1811. During his stay from 1815 to 1817, he continued his studies at the London hospitals, but his heart was not in medicine, and he felt that he was born to be a poet. Actually, at first he studied medicine, but this profession did not attract him, and that's why he wanted to be a poet. That means in his heart he always dreamed of being a poet, and ultimately he became so. He became successful as a poet in English literature. And that's why he started writing, and his first volume of poetry appeared in, that means his first volume, Jubilant Verse, first appeared in 1817. And next, his famous poem or poetic volume appeared in 1818, and the name of this volume was Endymion. And for the publication of this volume, he was praised by his readers and critics. And before going to discuss on the poetry of John Keats, we must know something about his style of writing. That means in his poems, what things were particularly focused. And we know that John Keats was a romantic poet, so his poetry was embellished with romantic traits. And if you minutely read the poems of John Keats, we will find that all the romantic qualities or characteristics are found in his poems. And you know that all the romantic poets had fascination for beauty, and John Keats, as a romantic poet, was not exception from this trend or from dealing with nature in his poetry. But he was somewhat different from William Wordsworth and P.B. Shelley in treatments of nature. So, at first we shall try to discuss Keats's love for beauty. Keats's love for beauty. John Keats was considerably influenced by Spenser's and was, like the latter, a passionate lover of beauty. That is, he was also influenced by Spenser, John Milton, and he was a passionate lover of beauty in all its forms and manifestations. This passion for beauty constitutes his aestheticism. This term is appropriate for John Keats, aestheticism. Beauty indeed was his pole star. Beauty in nature, in women, and in art. That means in every objects he wanted to identify beauty. He wanted to find beauty, and he became successful in doing so. A thing of beauty is a joy for ever, he writes, and he identifies beauty with truth. Not only that, the two things are very important. And what are those? Beauty and truth. And he writes beauty and he identifies beauty with truth in his poems. Of all the poets in his times, Keats is one of the most inevitably associated with the love of beauty in the ordinary sense of the term. In the ordinary sense of the term. He was the most passionate lover of the world, as the carrier of beautiful images and of the many imaginative associations of an objects. Poetry, according to Keats, should be the incarnation of beauty, not a medium for the expression of religious or social philosophy. This line is very important because it is John Keats who always thought that poetry should be the incarnation of beauty. Actually, in every poems or in poetry, every poet must highlight beauty, and beauty should be the incarnation. That means poetry should be the incarnation of beauty, and poetry should not deal with the expression of religion or social philosophy. That means he was in favor of avoiding the treatment of the religious things and social philosophy in poetry. He did not support it. That means poetry should not focus any religious or social philosophy. Rather, poetry should be the incarnation of beauty. That means it should be the sole intention of poetry, and that's why every poet should deal with beauty in his poems. And it is John Keats who became successful in dealing with beauty in his poems. And Keats's Hellenism, or we may say the Greek note in Keats's poetry. Though he was a romantic poet, other romantic poets except John Keats did not treat Greek notes in their poetry, or we do not find the existence of so much Hellenic spirits in the poems of romantic poets except John Keats. P.B. Shelley expressed the opinion that Keats was a Greek. He said that means P.B. Shelley told that John Keats was a Greek. Actually, or indeed, or in fact, Keats was unmistakably a representative of Greek thought, in a sense in which Wordsworth, Coleridge, and even Shelley were not. Though these poets also were, or in the poems of William Wordsworth, Shelley, and Coleridge, we find a little bit Hellenic spirits, but it is John Keats who was in favor of Hellenism. That means he was the representative of Greek thought, The Greek spirit came to kids through literature. How did the Greek spirit come to John Keats? It came to John Keats through literature, through his writings, and through an innate tendency, and it is under Hellenic influence as a rule that he gives of his best. The inborn temperamental Greekness of Keats's mind is to be seen in his love of beauty. To him, as to the Greeks, the expression of beauty is the ideal of all art. The expression of beauty is the ideal of all art. And for him, that means, and for John Keats, as for them, as for the Greeks, beauty is not exclusively material, nor spiritual, nor intellectual, but is the fullest development of all that goes to make up human perfection. And it is John Keats who thought that beauty is not exclusively material, nor spiritual, nor intellectual, but beauty is the fullest development of all that goes to make up human perfection. And Keats's treatment of nature. Keats's sentiment to nature is simpler than that of other romantics. Already I have mentioned it. He remains absolutely uninfluenced by the pantheism of Wordsworth and Shelley. Actually, you know that it is William Wordsworth who is famous for his treatment of nature in his poetry, and he found, that means William Wordsworth found the existence of God in the objects of nature. That means God everywhere, God pervades in the objects of nature, and that is why he is called a pantheist. But John Keats did not do so in treatment of nature in his poems. Rather, he was different from William Wordsworth and Shelley. And he loves nature not because of any spiritual significance in her or any divine meaning in her, but simply because of her external charm and beauty. That means John Keats did not find any divine spirits in nature. Rather, he was greatly influenced by the external beauty, external charm of nature. He did not try to find out the inner significance of nature. What does a nature conveys to him is that he was actually fascinated by the outer appearance or beauty of nature. The instinct of Wordsworth was to interpret all the operations of nature by those of his own soul. For Shelley, natural beauty was symbolical in a twofold sense. In Keats, the sentiment of nature was simpler, more direct and more disinterested than in either of these two poets. It was his instinct, love and interpret nature more for her own sake and less for the sake of the sympathy which the human mind can read into her with its own workings and aspirations. Keats is the poet of senses, and he loves nature because of her sensuous appeal. You know that John Keats is famous for his sensuousness, and nature is very attractive, nature is very interesting, or nature attracts John Keats for her sensuous appeal. Sensuous appeal. And her appeal to the sense of sight, the sense of hearing, the sense of smell, and the sense of touch. He loves flowers because of their beauty of color, fragrant smell, and softness. And here John Keats is very much practical in treatment of nature. He loves flowers. Why? For its color and fragrant smell and softness. He loves the streams because of their music. Because of their music. He loves the snow, the moon, and the rainbow. Why? For their visual loveliness. For their visual, he loves the streams. Why? For their music. And he loves the snow, the moon, and the rainbow. Why? For their loveliness. He has no mystic intercourse with nature and reads no moral significance in her. He did not try to find out any moral significance from the objects of nature like William Wordsworth. And that's why John Keats is completely different from William Wordsworth in treatment of nature. Though both of them are poets of nature, but their perception towards nature is completely different from one to another, from each other. And Keats's observation of nature is very keen, and nothing escapes it. In most of his poems, we have nature description. That means, from the poems of John Keats, we get nature description for its own sake, expressive of nothing but keen delight and genuine joy in nature. His nature pictures are detailed and elaborate. It is for this reason that he is generally regarded as a precursor of Tennysonian school of nature. This is very important. His skill in most of Keats's poem, we have nature description for its own sake, expressive of nothing but keen delight and genuine joy in nature. His nature pictures are detailed and elaborate. And it is for this reason that he is generally regarded as the precursor of Tennysonian school of nature. And Keats's attitude to nature has been compared with that of the ancient Greeks. The ancient Greeks personified the objects and forces of nature. They called the moon Cynthia, the sun Apollo. They saw the deities in the wood and naiads in water. Keats too sometimes followed the Greeks in this respect. And Keats's medievalism. Keats was a great lover of the medieval ages. He responded more than any other poet to the spell of medieval romance. He was not interested in the political or social conditions of his age, nor did he dream of the golden age of man. That means he did not describe or he did not discuss the political or any social conditions of his time in his writings. And he did not dream of a golden world of men or golden age of man. He was more or less a poet of escape, an idealist. The Middle Ages have always exercised a special charm on poets by virtue of their chivalry, romance, knight-errantry, supernatural beliefs, etc. Keats, who was chiefly a poet of imagination without much contact with reality, that means he had not much contact with reality, was naturally fascinated by the charm of the Middle Ages. Keats pays his tributes to the Middle Ages in his different poems. Today the time is over and I shall take a class on next Tuesday on John Keats, and then we will read a poem and discuss it. So stay home and stay safe and go on your study seriously. Thank you all.